So my name is Owen Fleming, and I'm director of a few postgraduate courses that relate to, biopharma manufacturing. And I suppose the purpose of this evening's information webinar is to introduce with a degree of focus on one of those courses, but really just to talk about some of the offerings that are available in UCC for people that are interested in upskilling, getting some postgraduate course specifically related to the biopharm industry. So what's shown here on this slide is, I suppose, an overview of some, I hope I haven't left any out, but I think most of the courses that we have within UCC that provide opportunities for people to then transition into or get employment in the biopharm industry. So certainly at an undergraduate level, we have a few level 8 degrees there linked to maybe biochemistry, microbiology, chemistry, biotechnology, pharmacy. Also, we get people going from pharmacy into the industry and people from engineering going into the industry. But I guess what we're most interested in now this evening relates to postgraduate studies. So there are a number of these that have been existent within UCC for a number of years. Level 9, the MPharm. There's an MSc in Pharmaceutical Technology and Quality Systems, MSc Biotech, MRes. But I suppose the ones that we're interested in, I suppose more especially at the moment by virtue of the fact that the fees are either 100% covered or 90% covered by the Higher Education Authority, are courses that are associated with the Human Capital Initiative, or HCI. Or also there's a similar program, Springboard Plus. So some of the HCI programs that we have, certainly here at level 9, would include, there's a postgraduate diploma in regulatory sciences, there's a postgraduate diploma in advanced cell and gene therapy, there's a postgraduate diploma in industrial biotechnology and biomanufacturing, and a postgraduate diploma in bioanalytical chemistry. So these would all be, I suppose, linked to the HCI program and are funded accordingly. But there are also some that are offered, I suppose, through Springboard, which is a similar program. There are subtle differences, how recently have you graduated and things like that, but effectively the same sort of principles apply in terms of the funding, in as much as they provide either 90% or 100% funding. So these are all, I suppose, recognized, and if you're interested in any of these, you can go onto the UCC webpage and go to HCI and you'll get more information on each of these courses. But the ones that I'm specifically associated with are these ones here. And the first two are what we call micro credentials. So these are kind of truncated, either 10 credit or 20 credit modules that have a particular qualification called a certificate in continued professional development, that are offered for people that maybe aren't in a position where they can't commit to a full year of study, but they're interested in getting a bit more information on particular areas. So the most recent one that I've been involved in, we've developed it there with BioPharma Chem SkillNet. And it's a level 8 certificate in continuing professional development in biopharmaceuticals and advanced personalized therapy. So this is really, in some respects, it was developed there 2 years ago in order to provide support for the emerging advanced cell and gene therapy industries that are beginning to arrive in Ireland. The other one there is a level 9, again, certificate in continuing professional development, biopharmaceutical technologies. So this is a 20 credit micro credential, which is run over 4 months. But the full year ones now that I'm involved in would be a level 9 postgraduate diploma in biopharma processing. And this has been in existence really since 2015. And this was, our original course that was developed in order to address the evolving needs of the biopharmaceutical industry in Ireland, where there was a very rapid expansion going on with huge investment from the companies that's around about that time. So we developed this level 9 course, delivered part-time over 3 semesters, with the fees effectively being supported or paid for by Springboard Plus. So funded either 90% or 100%, depending on whether individuals are in employment, are unemployed, or returners. So this is one that I don't think it's actually been opened up for applications yet, but we expect that to happen in the next week or two. And this can lead on to a level 9 MSc in biopharma processing, which unfortunately doesn't have springboard funding associated with it. But we have a lot of people coming through, particularly those that are already employed in the industry that are looking for promotions and things like that. So I might talk a little bit about that at the very end of this presentation. But this presentation, for the most part, will focus on the level 9 HCI-funded higher diploma in design and manufacture of biopharmaceuticals. And this has been in existence now for the last 4 years. It also is delivered over 3 semesters, but it is defined as a full-time course. And I'm going to talk about that again in a moment. But it's delivered in such a way, again, that we try to make it as accessible as possible and flexible delivery as possible for people that are in employment or that are beginning to work in industry. So the fees on it, 9,300, but again, as I said, they're HCI supported to either 90 or 100%. So in terms of this level 8 qualification, this higher diploma, it's a 60 credit full-time conversion course. Now that term full-time is important, certainly from the point of view of those that are unemployed or employed that are coming onto it, that there's a technical definition associated with that, which will, impact on eligibility for a job seekers allowance, or there's a thing called the back to education allowance. But it is, I suppose, from an academic point of view, the term full-time relates to a number of contact hours that we need to have with the students. So while maybe an undergraduate full-time course is restricted to delivery during 2 semesters and you come in, 2 or 3 times a week, you could have X number of hours every week. By virtue of the fact that we run this course over 3 semesters, it means that we deliver solely on Fridays, okay? And it's a conversion course for the upskilling and reskilling of graduates to provide them with a high-level understanding of the manufacture of biological drugs and position themselves to most effectively employ their primary degree competencies and experience in the biopharma and life sciences biological sector. So what happened was, about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we engaged with a regional group, and these are set up in all the different regions in Ireland, but the one that we specifically engaged with was the Southwestern Regional Skills Forum. And it's a forum that engages with industry to see, are the universities adequately meeting the requirements from the point of view of graduates for employment within specific sectors. So we talked to people in the biopharm industry, and what was happening was that the initial drive, or the initial development of biopharma manufacturing in Ireland, I suppose, was very focused on making protein, making products. So it was associated with the process. They were looking for people from biochemistry and microbiology and engineering. But the evolution that has come within the industry in the last 15 years has required, I suppose, lots of other disciplines. So I know there's a global support system. There's the headquarters there down in Little Island near Cork for Eli Lilly. So they're looking for people with languages, with business skills. Increasingly, the companies are looking for people with data analytical skills, statistics, IT, computer science, business, commerce, all of these things. But what's missing is just that little bit where someone who has a qualification in one of these other areas just needs to have an understanding of what goes on within biopharma. So that was really the drive behind development of this particular course. And I says we designed it with input from industry so as to cover, first of all, basic cell biology, but we're not trying to create biochemists. We're not trying to create microbiologists. What we're looking for is to convey or provide the students with an understanding of what goes on in a cell, such that if things go wrong and you develop disease, what you can do in order to design drugs in order to treat that disease. So it's very, very focused in relation to that, but it provides people from very diverse backgrounds with that basic understanding in terms of biological systems and disease and drugs. Then I suppose the next segment of the course that we look at relates to manufacturing process. So it's one thing to understand the theory, but when you walk into one of these manufacturing sites, there's pipes and there's bioreactors and there's all stuff going on around. So there's 5 credits devoted to engineering principles that underpin the manufacturing and fundamental components associated with what we call upstream processing, where we grow cells in bioreactors and the cells make the drug. And then during downstream processing, we purify that drug so that it's in a position where we can formulate it and put it into a particular a solution that we can give to patients. Then we're interested in the conditions under which we get the production of biopharmaceuticals. So it's a very regulated environment. It has to occur under, aseptic conditions, so we're not introducing contamination or anything when we're making the drug. It's very regulated in accordance with European standards and US standards. You've heard of the FDA maybe and the EMA. And we also have to be sure that the drug is what we want to produce. So this is referred to as validation. Then during the final semester, we have modules that are dedicated to the career and industry relevant practical training that will enhance participant employability. So we have a component of the course that was developed, bespoke by the career services in UCC to support this particular course. And I suppose it gives our students an appreciation of, it's one thing to have the theory, it's one thing to have the skills, it's one thing to have the competencies, and it's another thing to get a job, to be able to communicate that you have those skills. So, that's related to CV preparation, interview preparation, that kind of thing. So this is the overview of what we have in the course. In relation to application, there are 2 application routes, okay? So the first of these involves having, an academic qualification, so an honours degree in a level 8 course. And as I emphasized previously, this can be in science, but it can also be in non-science. We welcome applications from all disciplines, quite simply because the industry is looking for people from all disciplines. In some cases, it's kind of focused disciplines, so people with languages, IT skills, statisticians, data scientists. But it also, if people are prepared to do this upskilling or reskilling, in effect, anybody from any background is capable of getting to a point where they can interview to get into the industry and get employment in the industry. So there's the academic route, but we also recognize the individuals that have what we refer to as relevant professional learning. So these are people that will maybe have been working, gone in on a kind of an introductory level within the industry, but have worked for a number of years, 5, 8, 10 years, who will have more knowledge of the industry than I'm ever likely to have. And we need to recognize that knowledge. So, over here, just on the right hand side, I'm just seeing that this is, I think, the class from 2021. And you can see here that one of the individuals that came on the course had been, in manufacturing for the bones of, 15 years before they applied to come on this course. They didn't have a level 8 qualification, but we absolutely recognized, the quality of this particular individual. They were working for the company. They wanted to get promotion within the company. They wanted some sort of a mechanism with which to achieve that. And this course allowed them to do that. So in terms of the application, you go to the Springboard Plus webpage. There is an application form that needs to be completed. And what we would ask is that people would also submit relevant transcripts relating to academic qualifications and also a CV, just to get an understanding of where you're coming from, and also to submit a motivation statement. And this is particularly important in terms of people that are applying through the relevant professional RPL route. Where are you at in life? Where do you want to get to in life? And how you think that this course is going to facilitate that and support and provide you with those opportunities. So as I said, over here on the right hand side is just, I think it was the 2021 to 2022 class. And it was just to give you an idea of the backgrounds, you know, whether it be academic or RPL, of people that have come onto the course. So, you know, we have a BSc in sports science there from UL, food science, someone that was already working within the industry. Sligo bioprocessing, a level 7 award, you know, whatever, a year or 2 years before they applied to come on the course. A business degree, BA. This one particularly interesting, a level 7 carpentry and joinery. And I know this individual is currently working with Janssen. Geography, geology, archaeology, but you know, we also have people. This individual had first-class honor in pharmaceutical chemistry from UCC in 2021, entered the class in September of 2021. This was someone who had focused on the pharmaceutical industry, but was interested in just getting that basic introduction to the biopharmaceutical industry. And I know this individual is now working in BioMarin, which is one of, you know, the big multinational biopharma industries that's located down in Ringaskiddy, fairly close to us here in Cork. But you can just get an understanding or appreciation for the different backgrounds. Some people were employed, some people were unemployed. And I suppose what I would say from knowing the individuals and the names that relate to these individual kind of qualifications here, I can say that the majority of people from this class are in employment now. So they did successfully transition from being unemployed to being employed. But even people that you know were employed. So again, I know this individual did plant science when traveling for a year, and you know, I was asked for a reference for this individual to get into one of the biopharma companies as soon as they came back into the country. So look, I suppose there are these opportunities, and we don't restrict applications because we feel that the course is strong enough in order to accommodate and to upskill people from whatever the background and make them employable within the industry. So in terms of course delivery, this is done primarily online with notes and pre-recorded lectures delivered to students in advance of live webinars which happen on Fridays. So certainly up as far as Christmas, these are you know, we have a lecture theatre, we have lectures going on campus, but the course is very targeted towards people that are upskilling, maybe getting into employment, people that are in employment. And in order to maximize their engagement with the course, in order to maximize the flexibility associated with delivery, that on-campus session would normally be broadcast live. It would be a live webinar that would be broadcast over the internet. And additionally, it would be recorded. So if you have somebody, you know, for example, I'm just coming back now to our list here. So some of these individuals, maybe people that were on strike or could have been on night shifts or something like that, that they may not be able to engage with the delivery at that particular time. So it says they can come in person. It can be tagged onto live over the internet with the webinar, or it's recorded so people can come back and they can listen to the material. So all didactic material is recorded, made available through this thing called Canvas Virtual Learning Environment software. So depending on how recently you would have you know, been in some third level institution, the way it has gone in the last number of years is to provide course related material to students through this electronic interface. The one that we have here in UCC is called Canvas. And this is my one here. So you can see where, for example, this is our course, our Introduction to Human Molecular and Cellular Biochemistry. This was for this year's course, and you can see that you can click on here. These were the notes and recordings that were there in relation to elements, atoms, bonds, water, that kind of thing. And then there's a link for the live recording or the recording from the webinar session. Okay, so it really is an attempt to ensure maximum engagement from individuals from, you know, wherever they're at in terms of life. I suppose one of the things that we are proudest of is the fact, you know, when we went out and we talked to industry, many of them were offering us speakers. They said, look, develop this course, we'll provide people that will come in and lecture for you. So I know certainly in relation to the engineering course that we do, that half of that course is delivered by a process engineer that's employed out in Biomarin. Tutorials, I know the tutorials for the BC 5004 module, these are delivered by someone that's employed in Regeneron down in Limerick. So, you know, certainly in terms of the content, we have industry speakers. We try to engage, you know, in site visits. There's a biopharma training facility that many of the companies in the kind of the greater Munster area coughed up the few euros and established this particular centre. So, you know, you can go in and they show you culturing cells and bioreactors and chromatography and all these kinds of things. And one thing that I would emphasize now in relation to the course is that there is a week in May. Students have the choice of 1 of 2 weeks, but you need to come in to get some hands-on training. And what we do as part of that training is we try and reflect what's going on in this country, primarily in terms of biopharma processing. So just, I suppose, to put this in context, you know, we're hearing all this stuff about, you know, all these taxes that are coming in, that there's a small number of companies that are you know, fulfilling that corporation tax coffers. And certainly in the context of biopharma, the very vast majority of what's going on at the moment is the production of protein drugs. So we are beginning to see some you know, increase. There's 3 or 4 companies that are looking at some gene therapies. There's advanced cell therapies, and certainly there are components of this particular course. There's a week in my PF 5003 module related to, you know, these novel biotherapeutics. But as it stands, the vast majority of employment is available within the biopharma manufacturing sector. So as part of our on-campus training, students come in, they grow cells that make protein drugs. And the specific type of protein drug that they make is called monoclonal antibodies. So the students purify those antibodies and they characterize those antibodies. So this is what's going on in the industry. It gives people hands-on experience, you know, while giving us the opportunity to explain the different steps of what's going on. And then when they go into interviews, they're in a position where, you know, they can say, yeah, look, we did this when we were in UCC, when we were doing the training, we did this, we did that, we did upstream processing, we did downstream processing. And it certainly improves their opportunities of getting employment in the industry. In terms of the structure, the introductory molecular and cell biology and the introductory engineering are in the first semester. Then the second semester is that bioprocess, upstream, downstream formulation, sterile manufacturing under regulated conditions, process validation and verification. And then in the third semester, we have our on-campus training along with a BC 5005 module that really is encouraging students to dig that little bit deeper into different aspects of the manufacturing process. This BC 5006 module, which incorporates our practical training, actually starts in the first semester, where we get the students to develop a career portfolio, being guided by material that was given to us by the career services, so that, you know, once we hit kind of Christmas, the new year, many people have started looking for work, people that were unemployed, people that were returning. They're beginning looking for work, and at the same time they're getting that experience in the practical training, and really, you know, you're looking for people to be able to transition into the industry during the semester 3 or then into the new year. In terms of course assessments, so things actually changed dramatically now in the last year, in that up to then we would have been in a position where we could deliver the courses or deliver the assessment electronically, so it was done online. But with the advent of ChatGPT, where all you have to do is go onto the computer and say, "Dear computer, tell me the answer to this question," and the computer gives you the answer, we now have to bring on students for 5 on-campus written exams. So I'll go through that in a moment when I'm talking about timetable and scheduling. So, but really, essentially, after every 10 credits, we ask students to come on and do an exam. You're given plenty notice of the dates on which this will happen. Then there will be in-class tests, MCQ exams, and I suppose this is possible for the students to take online. We normally timetable it for lunchtime. So very often I would see students kind of taking the exam, maybe from the car out in the parking lot at work or something like that. In terms of other assessments, there are also written reports. So definitely as part of the practical training, you have to submit written reports and SOPs of what you would have done as part of the training. So this is an example of, and this and the next two slides are the timetable as it relates to last year's course. Okay, this year's course. We're still in the process of tying down the timetable for the academic year that's upcoming, so 2024 to 2025. But you can see here how, this is up to Christmas, that in the morning now there would have been, a session there, an afternoon would be a session, morning, afternoon. Very often, when we say directed study here, what we're doing is providing you with materials, lecture notes, whatever, for the next week to go and study. And then during the live webinars, it's not really a rehash of what was delivered in terms of pre-recording lectures. The purpose of the webinars is really to explain how the material is applied, our examples, our case studies of where it is applied in terms of the industry. You can see here also that there will be some of these MCQ exams, which are timetabled there at lunchtime. We do provide rooms here in UCC, quiet rooms, good internet connections that people can come in and do those exams. But for these, we do offer people the opportunity of taking them remotely. And we can see here that at the end of the semester, in the first and second weeks of December, there was on-campus written exams. Something similar there for semester 2. Again, we have our scheduled lunchtime exams and an on-campus written exam. This is the module that I've been teaching now for the last number of weeks, PF 5003. We had our on-campus exam there last week, but you can see here the lunchtime exams. And for semester 3, here we have where students have the choice of coming in 1 of 2 weeks, during which I said we provide you with some of the hands-on skills associated with making these biological drugs, or making certainly the monoclonal antibodies or the recombinant replacement proteins, which we do in overexpressive bacteria systems, in order to give you that understanding of what goes on in the industry. And then the workshop reports, everything's finished kind of late June, early July. So this is just kind of a breakdown there of the individual modules. These are the first 2, the introduction to biochemistry and cell biology and engineering. These are before Christmas. Then 5003, 5001 and 5002 happen kind of during the second semester, the beginning of the third semester. This is the one, introduction to biopharmaceutical process, producing proteins, vaccines. And also there's that segment there, an introduction to some of the novel biotherapeutics that are beginning to be introduced. Process validation, risk assessment, quality by design, regulatory sterile manufacturing. And here are our training related modules. So I suppose just specifically in relation to that training, as I said, the module BC 5006 is split into 2 components. One of it involves, developing those professional career management skills in association with the career services in UCC, and also to provide the hands-on training. So this is a picture here of us down in Carrigaline looking at the stainless steel bioreactors. These are some students that are growing some cells here, and this is me, I don't know, talking some good stuff. I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm sure it's really good. So I suppose just to finish up, I want to I suppose give an overview of some of the feedback that we've gotten from this course, from the students that have gone through the process. So these people would have, taken the course during the last 4 years. Just to give you an idea of the feedback that we're getting for them. So this first one here, I think was from someone that was unemployed. So when they came so they were looking to secure employment. A background in science was helpful but not necessary, and the course catered for all student levels. Thoroughly enjoyed the program, learned so much from the various modules, well-rounded, industry-focused. Certainly when this individual came on, they were unemployed, and then they're currently employed in a large biopharma company after getting a job as a lab analyst a few months into the course. So it was well organized, pre-recorded and live lectures and tutorials, which was very useful when it came to revising. And really the program team were helpful, approachable, enthusiastic. It's clear that they are passionate about the topics and genuinely want students to enjoy the material and to succeed. The second testimonial here was from a returner. The HCD-MB course at UCD has been invaluable in providing not only the course content, but also a framework for updating the skills required to take employment and the confidence to undertake a job search. So this is one of the key things. People that have been out from for the workforce or from this area for a while, maybe raising children or taking care of sick relatives or something. They maybe lose that little bit of confidence about their ability to contribute within the workplace. And part of the journey, associated with the course is to make sure that they're coming out the other end, they're confident in the understanding, they're confident in the knowledge they have, and how they can contribute then in terms of getting employment. So the course is well structured, flows logically, giving students who have no former experience in the area an understanding of the industry on which to build. So students from different disciplines can identify paths with a relevance to their former experience, and the inclusion of that preparation for employment module is very helpful. So the situation was managed well during COVID, and look, this individual would highly recommend the course to others without hesitation. The final cohort then would have been people that were already in employment, so or had been in employment, were looking for new opportunities within the sector. They found this course to be particularly beneficial. They were working in a different field, but were looking to get back into the pharma industry. They make the very important point that they could never apply for this course without the heavy subsidization involved. So I do tip my hat to the HEA, the Higher Education Authority, and that provision of funding support at 90 or 100% to allow students to come onto this course. So they've been applying for jobs before and after starting the course, and received a lot more engagement and subsequent interviews after adding the course to my CV. Apart from that aspect, they found the course to be extremely interesting and felt correctly geared towards industry knowledge. So this is someone that was working in the industry, so we appreciate that kind of feedback. The learning and knowledge will definitely stand to me in my new career. Finally, they're applauding the management of the course, who remained extremely approachable on top of things throughout. So I suppose that in some respect was a comment on where we were at in terms of COVID during the first year or two when we were delivering the course.